Hello, my name is Alice de Koning, and I'm here to talk to you about industry and competitor research and analysis basics. And the context for this is your entrepreneurial or innovation project. So why should we do industry and market analysis? The value is to understand the context of your innovation ideas, to benchmark the profit potential of your innovations. In other words, are you making something that people are so interested in they would like to pay for it? And to see the opportunity gaps that might exist in an industry or market that you are interested in, and to find entry points. In other words, where do startups usually start out in the industry you're interested in? So how do we organize industry analysis normally? There are three core models that we use in strategic management and strategic analysis, and that's Porter's 5 Forces model, the value chain analysis, and PESTLE, or sometimes called PEST. It's part of any business education, and if you're curious about these concepts, you can just check some YouTube videos. There's lots of them, and they're great. So we use these concepts to search the library databases, and the concepts provide us with keywords that are useful to find information. There's a document provided from the business library that goes with this video, and you can use it to follow up on the presentation. I would also suggest that you book a meeting with a business librarian for help. The first step is to define your industry, and there's a lot of different approaches that are possible. One is to think about just focusing on the direct competitors, companies that are solving the same problem as you and using a similar approach as you are, and that would be your industry. Or sometimes we want to look at the whole sector, and in that case we're looking at a lot of different companies doing similar and related things to your innovation. So a sector could be like agriculture or tourism or oil and gas, whereas you might want to think about industry as really more focused, like ranching would be a particular industry within agriculture, or food processing would be a specific industry within the agriculture sector. So when you're looking for what industry to include, the place we start is to find the number for the industry. And so we have SIC, which is Standard Industry Classification, and we have NAICS, North American Industry Classification System. The tricky part there is that you can have a 2-digit number or a 5 to 6-digit number. A 2-digit number is an industry sector, 5 or 6 is a very narrow, very specific industry, and then there's a range in between. And so you're going to have to use some judgment to decide what number is best for you. Once you've defined your industry, then you can move on to other research. So if you need some help, use your common sense, ask for librarian help, and then it helps to realize that if you have a very innovative idea, you might actually fit 2 to 3 very different industries, and you'll want to do the research on all 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 industries. An example might be if you want to do an application for IoT in the context of oil and gas, then you would need to look at both the oil and gas industry sectors that might want to use IoT, but you also would need to look at IoT. The big question we always ask once we've defined the industry is to look at the relationship between industries and between companies. And what we're trying to do is to understand the relative power of these industries and companies, and we can think about that in terms of bargaining power. Bargaining power is sometimes negotiated directly, but mostly it's indirectly, but it's about how many suppliers are there and how many buyers are there, and how does that affect the prices. So the analogy you can think about is selling hockey sticks at a flea market. If we have 20 sellers of hockey sticks in June, and we probably only have 5 or 10 buyers, then the bargaining power is with the buyers because there's 20 people trying to sell the hockey sticks and there's very few customers. But the same 20 sellers in September or October, when there's hundreds of people looking for hockey sticks, they might have a lot more bargaining power and they can raise their prices. So it's the same thing in every industry, and you need to think about who has the negotiating power and where are the profitable margins, and that will tell you a lot. You definitely don't want to be buying supplies from the only supplier that exists in the world, because clearly they have a lot of negotiating power and they will be able to charge higher prices, and they can do it very suddenly as well. Then we have competitor analysis, and competitor analysis is looking at similar companies. So finding companies that are solving the same problems that you're interested in, looking at what solutions they offer, and what parts of the customer problems are they targeting. So not every company has the same priorities, and so within a big industry there may be 3 or 4 very different solutions and 3 or 4 very different types of customers who prioritize different things. And by looking at all of those factors and how those different innovative solutions might solve the problems, what we're talking about is how do we create value for the customers? What are we doing to help solve their problems and make their businesses better? Or in the case of consumers, make their lives better. So when you're doing the competitor analysis, you want to identify different business models for selling an innovative idea. So for example, are they manufacturing the concept that they came up with? Or are they licensing it to other companies who then do the manufacturing, or they're packaging it with other products to sell as a bundle? Or are they subcontracting it so that they're selling the product themselves, but they've negotiated for somebody else to do the actual manufacturing? And you can think of the same thing with services. Are they producing the services themselves? Are they selling their concept to different consulting firms who then in turn actually sell it to the customers? Are they subcontracting and bundling with other products to make a better value add for their customers? So there's different ways of doing it. And so just learning a little bit about a company can tell you that. And so you can even be looking in Google at customer reviews and stuff like that. Again, we want to look at direct and indirect competitors. Direct competitors are selling the same solutions to solve the same problems to the same target customers. An indirect competitor has a very different solution, but is also solving the same problems to the same target customers. And I would just note that these are the same people that you could call and ask for a meeting to do some research. Most people are very open to sharing and helping educate students and student project teams about the specific details of what their industry is about and the challenges that they face. Another thing to look for in competitor analysis is who are the suppliers of the key inputs? Are there alternative inputs? How many companies are there? Where are they located? Remember, I was talking about bargaining power. Here we're looking at the specific details. And then how many customers are there? Who are the target customers? Are they businesses? Are they organizations in government? Are they consumers? And this is really important because a consumer, you would do a consumer survey if you wanted to learn more about the customers. Or you might hold focus groups and try to talk to a lot of different people. But if the customer is a business or an organization, you might want to organize a few interviews, but you wouldn't be able to do a lot of different companies. And so it's helpful in your competitor analysis to define and notice these things. So where do you look for the information? The library has a lot of free resources. When I say free, I mean free to students at the university. Many of these databases cost thousands and thousands of dollars per year if you were to access them as an individual or as a company, sometimes as much as $20,000 to $50,000 to $100,000. And the library is offering them to students for free. 5 to 10 hours should be enough to get the right amount of information and insight. There is this thing we call analysis paralysis. Too much is too much. Not enough is not enough. So aim for 5 to 10 hours as a starting point to get a better understanding of what you're doing with your project and a little bit about the industry and the context of your innovation idea. So I want to just take a moment now to compare the ideas that I've spoken about to the business model canvas. So the business model canvas is used within the entrepreneurship world to communicate business ideas in a really efficient way. And the key part here is that your innovation is in the central box called value propositions, where you're actually describing the innovation in terms of the value it creates for potential customers. To the right, we have customer relationships, channels, and customer segments. In the short run, the most important thing to understand is the customer segments. And then on the left, we have key partners, key activities, and key resources. And they're the key information that you need to keep track of, is the key partners and the key resources, so that you can value and make sure that you have the critical pieces that you need for your innovation to work. And then eventually you're going to look at revenue streams, which means what is the price and how much can I sell, and cost structure, which is how much does it cost to produce the goods or the services that I am talking about. The important word here is value. Where is the value created for the ultimate customer? And so we always keep that in mind. How do you create value for a customer? You serve their needs. So in summary, industry and competitor analysis is important, but it can be very short, and it gives you a context for thinking about your innovation. You can think about the innovation company, the operations, and how to market. These are all really useful contexts within, to place around your innovation as you think about how to improve it and how to understand it. And a good industry, market / competitor analysis should help you identify opportunities to reduce costs, identify ways to increase revenues, that is, where to innovate, and to support the innovation concept with data and logic. And this is really helpful when you're starting to do your pitch. So that's the broad outline of what we're going to talk about in this video. Check the library resources and book a meeting with the business librarians at your convenience. It's all good, and you'll get your research done in